All right, then the next article comes from the Hacker News, and the title here is Microsoft launches Windows Resiliency Initiative to boost security and system integrity. So this is largely an outgrowth of the big blow up with CrowdStrike earlier in the year, but I think it's turning into something that has lots of arms and legs, which are, I think, not a bad thing. One of the most, to me, seemingly significant improvements that they're making is the ability through remote configuration management to revive workstations that aren't bootable. I don't actually know them. Yeah, I don't know the mechanics of how that works.
Yeah.
But that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm like, how? Like something at the firmware level on the motherboard, something in the BIOS, or what is now no longer called the BIOS, but some sort of free boot or some sort of boot side loader that like it's like a recovery partition on the drive. I'm very curious how that's going to work and what the edge cases are. Like how well does it cover all the circumstances? It's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like I like that they're working on it. I'm just very curious how it works.
And does it open new avenues for attack and exploitation?
Well, of course it does. Why wouldn't it?
That's going to be the $1 million question. But
In fact,
go ahead.
Our next business is going to be writing EDR for that side loader.
I like that. That's a great idea. Very good idea. When I read that, one of the use cases that came to mind was ransomware attacks.
Yeah.
So if you have a fleet of systems that were wiped, they evaded all of your other most excellent controls, and now everybody's staring at an unbootable system. Would this potentially give you the ability to restore en masse without dispatching people to recover? I mean, I think the use case to me very clearly was what happened with CrowdStrike, where somebody had to go and touch each one of the systems that were impacted and run through some process. But it makes me wonder if could it also be useful in like a ransomware type attack?
I guess it depends. It all depends on what data is able to be backed up and restored. Is it just key system files? Is it, I don't know. To be determined.
Yeah. So they have a number of other improvements that they're including in here. Things like Windows Protected Print, which they're apparently going to be doing away with third-party print drivers, which, hallelujah for that.
I mean, I think half the red teams in the world are sad.
Yeah. Support for passkeys in Windows Hello. No, I didn't know that wasn't already there. So that was a little eye-opening to me. Let's see, hot patching in Windows, which is very interesting to me, and I think long overdue. Let's see, zero trust DNS. So basically the ability for you to lock your endpoints to a particular DNS server and to not allow them to basically resolve domains outside of that DNS provider.
Which technically isn't zero trust. It's like one trust. I trust one DNS server, maybe two. I got to trust some of them, right?
I can't argue with your logic there.
You know what? This is what happens when marketing people get involved.
I can't argue with you.
It should be called like 4 trusts, 4 servers. That's it. Sorry. Go.
They clearly need to get you on speed dial. Hey, so here's what we're thinking.
Indeed.
Yeah. So they're also looking at implementing this config refresh option to basically reset systems back to a known good configuration. Which I think that's good. I think it would be better if you could prevent the drift in the first place. But hey, that's, I guess, a good first step. So,
well, if you give your users some local admin control, it's somewhat inevitable, right? That they're gonna fiddle with things. So I like the concept of like it's like a gold image locally, kind of sort of like restore back to known gold, at least from a configuration standpoint. So if you're fiddling around with things, it's kind of a nice little help desk feature. If this one line in this story is going to be implemented the way I'm thinking about it, so to be determined.
And then the I think the most significant thing, of course, is what we talked about endlessly since the CrowdStrike debacle. They will be providing a way for security tools like EDR to operate without kernel access.
Which, yeah, we have talked about this a ton, and I'm still very curious to see how it's going to go from a efficacy, performance, and compatibility and competition standpoint. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, one of the one of the big, I'm assuming that they're going to find a way to plumb these security tools, with enough visibility for them to do their jobs. I know one of the challenges, and we've talked about this in recent shows, is that when software runs in user land, it's relatively simple, or at least possible to kill. Like, so as an attacker, you can stop processes, or you can launch processes in the in user land, but you can't do that for kernel unless you have very elevated permissions, and in some instances not even then. And so I think one of the reasons, as as we've talked about in the past, that CrowdStrike, I think, liked operating in the kernel was that you couldn't kill them if somebody clicked on a phishing link or ran some piece of malware. That malware didn't have the ability to kill the CrowdStrike process in the same way that they could kill some other security software. And so that's going to be more interesting. And I think that's, there's like that knife is going to cut both ways, I suspect, because now
Yep.
you're providing a way for I assume, for something to be unkillable in user land. And so how can that be abused? And so it's like, just like the ability to resurrect unbootable systems remotely, does that provide a new avenue for abuse? What kind of avenue for abuse does this open up? And my hope is that the people that are working on this are smart enough to ask these questions. And I'm not like breaking new ground here, but I have questions. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I have questions.
Well, and I'm sure the other aspect that a lot of these guys are thinking about is, okay, if Microsoft's going to build this new methodology where the security tools run in user land and not kernel land, does that include Microsoft Defender? Or is Microsoft Defender still going to have the privilege of running in kernel when nobody else does? And does that become a competitive differentiator that will quickly become an antitrust issue and litigation will ensue?
As has happened in the past, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's a good question.
We shall see. We shall see. Hey, look, all kudos though that they're working on it. It's all good stuff. I don't mean to just be all negative. I'm glad they're making some of these were just like, wow, why didn't we do this before now? Sort of ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they're working on it.
That's a good call out. Like, this was not in any way intended to to dog on them. I think they're doing good work, and I expect these will be meaningful improvements. But there's a lot of uncertainty about the implementation details. That's all.
Yeah. You're just getting old and cranky. It's fine. You can admit it. You missed your nap today. You didn't get to watch your Matlock episode. It's all right.
By the way, did you know there's a new Matlock?
I did.
I did not know that. I feel
I've not watched it.
Neither have I, but I feel like I can be old now. Like, anyway. Anyway.